Hey guys, Dr. DenBoer here, Dementia Doc. Again, I am not a licensed provider, was a clinical neuropsychologist, became a teacher, researcher, and got into business as consulting in the aging space. This is not meant as medical advice, etc. I've been getting a lot of questions lately, direct and indirect, about why is it so hard to diagnose dementia at the early stages? Or why is it so hard to diagnose dementia? And probably more the question of why is it so hard to diagnose dementia at the early stages? Okay, so I provided a long answer for this question in multiple interviews. I'm going to attempt to provide a shorter answer to this. Basically because people show no discernible symptoms of dementia at the time it is developing, which is 20 to 30 years prior to when we see it. And then see it on an MRI or any sort of noticeable markers of the disease. So I can go into depth on that, but basically people develop this in a real cardiovascular factor first, and then they start developing these plaques and tangles in their brains, and we cannot see it on any traditional neuroimaging. There's no blood test. There's no clinical markers that we have, even that we're really even close to developing in this particular space. So, and then I guess the other corollary to that is there is no neuroimaging that detects this whatsoever. It really only detects this when somebody has dementia. So, long and short of it is, simply put, is that we cannot diagnose dementia almost at all, or certainly very well, until somebody has the disease. And so we can't really even accurately tell you if you are at significant risk for it or not. It's more of an hypothesis because we really don't have any great clinical markers either for that. So that's a bummer, right? Not to trivialize it, it's a really significant bummer. But the good news, I guess, quote unquote, or the news here, or the take-home message is that people should do the things necessary for dementia mitigation, regardless of whether they feel they're at particular risk for it. For example, some of us are more, this is the analogy I like to use, hopefully it works. Some of us are more at a higher risk of development of heart disease than others, right? Regardless of that, I'm not at a particular family risk of heart disease. Regardless of that, I could make the choice, and I do make the choice traditionally, to do things that mitigate my risk of heart disease. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I exercise, that sort of thing. So dementia, very similar to that, or maybe cancer is another good example, is that we want to do the things to help prevent us from or mitigate our exposure or risk to the development of this disease. And we don't need a diagnosis of that disease or a significant risk of that disease to do it. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So in dementia, you can follow my account or look at other people's information, but aerobic exercise, diet, the combination of novel brain activity with aerobic exercise is really beneficial. Good socialization, good mental health, all of these things are super important in the mitigation of the disease. And here's the kicker, again, the take-home point, you do not need to be at genetic risk or have a diagnosis of dementia to do this. You should be doing this regardless of any of that. Anyway, all right, hope this helps. And I hope this helps answer your question. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.